Okay, let's set the scene. It's Sunday night. Maybe you've got a cup of tea. Maybe you've got a glass of wine. You're sitting down to plan your week and you're looking at your to do list that keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you know you need help. You've been saying it for months. You've probably got a role that you need to hire and you've been talking about it maybe to your partner, maybe to your coach, maybe to your business buddies. And, when people ask how things are going, your response is always, I'm really busy. But when it comes to actually moving forward on that hire, maybe it's writing the job advertisement, creating that new role description, or, let alone posting the ad, you find yourself doing all the things but that. You're reorganizing your desk, you're recoding your filing system, you're researching the latest AI tool or project management system. Now, I bet that sounds familiar to a few of you. And if it does, you're not alone. You're definitely not broken. And it's something that I see all the time. It's really normal. But the reality is, not moving forward on this next hire is costing you money. And it's probably costing you more than you realize. So today, this is what we're talking about. I'm talking about the elephant in the room. That is the person that you know you need to hire, but the fear that's keeping brilliant business owners just like you stuck, spinning your wheels, working far too long when you could be working better with somebody else, a few more people around you, and working less hours yourself, but ultimately getting better business results. So today I'm going to talk you through the top 5 fears that I see all the time coming up when it comes to hiring. And most importantly, I'm going to talk to you about why those fears, whilst totally normal and understandable, are holding you back from not only the business, but also the life that you want. Because here's what I know to be true after working with literally hundreds of clients and developing my hiring mastery method. Every single fear you have can be addressed and dealt with through the right framework and hiring process. So that's what we're diving into today. Hey, everybody. I'm Paula Maidens, your hiring strategist and team expert. And for the past 20 years, I've been helping business owners just like you move through all the feelings that come up when it comes to hiring and building high performing teams. And through that experience, through the last 20 years, I've watched so many business owners' lives completely change. Yes, their business life and the results and all the things that they see happening in their business completely change, but also their personal and family lives through getting this hiring and team piece right, and certainly on the right track. So we're diving in today to the 5 fears that are probably keeping you stuck from hiring that next person to join your business. So the first fear that I see coming up all the time that makes business owners just like you super hesitant is the worry of making the wrong choice. I hear all the time people saying, I can't tell if somebody's being honest in interviews. I can't tell if somebody's hiring. I've made mistakes before. I've chosen the wrong person before. I've got it wrong before. How do I know I'm not going to do it again? And I totally get it. Maybe you've had that experience where somebody seemed oh so awesome in the interview. They seemed perfect. You felt like you really gelled with them. But a couple of weeks in, you're wondering what happened to that enthusiastic, proactive person who said that they had done all the things, and who is this person you have sitting in front of you? But here's what I want you to know. It's rarely about the person being dishonest in the interview. People don't lie on purpose. And I can really say that with confidence. I can say that like 95% of the candidates who are coming along for interviews aren't lying to you on purpose. What usually happens is that your expectations aren't clear from the outset. And then combined with not knowing how to interview somebody well, you don't assess what you're actually looking for. You don't assess for a match for what you're looking for. And I don't mean that from a harsh perspective or being judgmental. The reality is most people don't know how to interview. And there's like this myth that sits out there that suddenly when you become a boss or become a leader, you should be able to know how to interview and choose the right people. Whereas like we've all seen the facts that just doesn't automatically happen when you become a boss, an entrepreneur, start hiring people or a leader. The thing is, most people think that a friendly conversation where you get to know somebody and you kind of sense a bit of a connection with them is somehow going to reveal if somebody has the right skills, experience, and prefers to work in a way that suits your business. And standard questions like, what's your greatest weakness? What are you hoping this job will give you, etc. Somehow these questions won't magically tell you if the person can handle your specific challenges in the way you need it done, and if their previous experience is transferable into it, or even if they've done the thing before, if the type of business they were in previously, or the way it was done before, or the way they did it before is right for you and your business. What you actually need is a structured interview process that will test and assess if somebody can do what you want them to do, and if they choose to, or prefer to, or have done before it in the way that you need it done in your business. And when you have a clear framework that has specific questions designed to understand that, both how somebody thinks, how they've done it before, how they like to do it, then the decision as to whether you should hire them or if they're completely right or completely wrong will become obvious. And you'll be making that decision based off evidence and the facts that are put in front of you, rather than a gut feeling or a fingers crossed type of decision that I know so many of us and so many of you in business make all the time. The second fear I see is around cost. It's usually a little bit more specific than I can't afford this person, or I'm not sure if I can afford this. Often what I hear and see, and the true fear that sits, is I don't think I can afford somebody who's good enough to do the job in the way I need and want it done. Or why would somebody who operates at that level want to come and work with me when I can't pay the big bucks? And I know exactly where this comes from. You've probably had a look on job boards to check out how much you need to pay, or maybe you've even talked to people and you've heard how much the big corporates, the big companies are paying, and you're thinking, how can I possibly compete with that? But here's what I want you to understand. You're not trying to compete with them. You're offering something completely different, and you're looking for the person who is attracted to that offer. You're looking for the person who doesn't want to work in a big business, who doesn't want the red tape and the bureaucracy and all the things that come with many of the big corporates. Yes, you won't be able to match the salary of a big multinational or one of the big Australian corporates, but you can offer things that are attractive to people. Maybe it's flexibility, maybe it's growth opportunities, maybe it's for the person to be able to work closely with the business owner like you. Maybe someone's going to be able to bring their creative flair to the table. Maybe someone's going to get involved or get exposure to strategy and execution, and that's really exciting for the right person. Maybe they're going to be able to make a real impact. Their voice is going to be heard. Maybe your role offers more variety, etc., etc. Maybe it's the fact that you're actually going to care about them as an individual, and you've got this cracking workplace culture that either you have or you're working on. These are all the things that so many people hold in higher stead than those big salaries that often come with, big corporations, big demands, big working hours, etc., etc. And if you don't believe that to be true, or if you're not sure if that's the case yet, then borrow my experience and confidence, because I have worked with hundreds of clients where we have successfully hired brilliant people who chose them over the big corporate with the big salary because of what's being offered beyond salary, because the uniqueness of the role, and often because of the uniqueness of working with you. So if this is your fear, then know that the real cost that you need to consider isn't trying to compete with the big boys, but the cost is continuing to try to carry that yourself, or not carve out that separate role which your business is now at a stage that it needs. And the missed opportunities, let alone, the impact on you and your family and all the things that I know you feel, that's the real cost. It's not actually the cost of how am I going to find an extra 20, 30, 40, 50, 60K to be able to compete with those big companies. And when it comes to getting, help with your hiring process, yes, there's often investment involved to come and work with somebody like me who's a strategist who can help you. But know that what you are getting is you're getting a lesson and a leadership skill that you will be able to use forever. And you're getting a process that you'll be able to use and repeat time and time again. Because the right person hired into your business, into the right role, has the opportunity to just completely transform your business. Also, the way your current team feel with that bit of pressure being taken off and that injection of new skills and experience and energy being brought in. And it has this huge ability to also transform you and your balance and your life and all the things that sit around your business through the pressure being taken off your shoulders a little bit and the extra energy being brought in also for you. So, fear number 3 is I don't really have time to train this new person up properly. And this is probably the fear that keeps heaps of you stuck because you're thinking to yourself, I need to invest all this time. This person's going to be sitting next to me, either physically or virtually. I'm going to have to tell them what to do. I'm going to have to teach them how to do all the things. And I know that the secondary thought after that is it's probably just easier for me to keep doing it myself, at least for the moment. And that may be true. Maybe in the short term, it might be easier for you to do it yourself. Yes, you know it exactly how you want it done. Yes, you can do it quickly. And yes, you don't have to explain or train it to somebody. But here's the thing. If doing it yourself is actually the right short, medium, let alone long-term solution for your business, then know that you're making a decision about growth and know that you're making a decision to limit your business's growth to your personal capacity. And that is completely fine if that is the choice that you are making, but just make it consciously. The reality is that all businesses need people beyond you to be able to grow. Clients need more than just you. Your business needs to be able to function when you step away, go on holidays, let alone get sick, let alone choose to go to, school assembly, for example. You will get to a certain point and then you hit a ceiling, and you also will hit a ceiling on the level of client satisfaction that you can deliver because of that personal capacity limit that you're putting on your business by having too many things on your to-do list. Now, I'm not just talking to the solopreneurs in the room. I'm talking to any of you who are literally working, 40, 50, 60-hour weeks where you're loading yourself up with more jobs than you should. Know that you're putting almost a restraint on your business that is linked to your personal capacity. And just because you can fire on all cylinders now does not mean that you will always be able to do that. And if you don't address that challenge earlier rather than later, then something will break, frankly. So what I want to offer you today is a shift from how can I find the time to train someone to how could I teach somebody to do which parts of this as fast as possible in the most efficient way possible so I can step back from this task. And when you think about training somebody in a really structured way, so what do I want the person to be able to do by the end of the first week? And then thinking, what do I need to teach them? And what do they need to know to be able to function and do that? And break it right down to that. And then you think, I've suddenly seen a little bit of a gap and space in my diary because they'll now be doing this. Right. What do I want them to be able to do by the end of 1 month? Okay. So then what are the things we need to train them? And does it always need to be you training them? Maybe not. Or maybe you could build up a training library between now and when you have actually got that person starting on your team with some videos and some things so that they can actually self-teach themselves, maybe even just 50 to 60% of the process. So what are the things that I want the person to be able to do on their own after 1 month? And then how do they learn that? Who do they need to learn it from? What information do they need? And when can they be trained in it? And if you look at somebody's onboarding and training process in that sort of structured way, it feels less intense. And it's certainly not that weight sitting on your shoulders the Sunday before they're due to start in your business on the Monday. Because when you approach your training, somebody's onboarding and training with the goal of getting yourself out of the process and handing things over in chunks, then you can start thinking about, well, what are the systems? What's the training? What's the documentation that they're going to need to be able to do that? And then as soon as you sort of shift from thinking, I'm going to be training everybody in person and it's going to take up all of my time, to what is the system we need to put in place? What is the documentation they need? What is the video they need to be able to, even better, learn that themselves? Then you're shifting to building a business that can function without you being involved in every single detail, including every single part of the training process. And here's something to address, probably another little fear that's sitting there, and that is, what if they make a mistake? When your team member makes a mistake, which they will through the training process, and you should expect that, that is actually incredibly valuable because it tells you where there was a slight crack in the process or the training that you thought would be sufficient, and you have the opportunity to improve it. Use those mistakes as a lesson and go, cool, we need to tweak our training, we need to tweak our documentation slightly so that this doesn't happen when the next person is watching it or self-teaching. I've worked with so many clients where a new team member's mistake has also led them to realize, maybe we didn't need that step. That step that they didn't do, which didn't seem obvious to them. Maybe it's also not obvious to the client. Maybe we're actually over servicing. Maybe that's not necessary. And that's what's really interesting as well and super valuable when you start to hand things over to other people. You'll probably realize that of the 10 things that you're doing, maybe only 8 of them are necessary, and there's some efficiencies for your business. So I want you to view this training time as an investment upfront in starting to create the systems and the processes that your businesses truly need to be sustainable and to set you up for those days that will come, the days when you're sick, when you have a bad day, when your kids are sick, or when you just want to take a holiday or a little bit longer of a holiday to what you normally do, and you want the business to not be quite so reliant on you. So all the little bits of work you're doing now to train up a potential new person is contributing to that day, which inevitably will come. Okay, so fear number 4, what if the person doesn't work out and I need to let them go? And I get it. This fear is a real one, and it can run really deep for many of you, particularly if you're the sort of person who wants to be liked, you're a bit of a people pleaser, you don't like having difficult conversations, and the thought of actually confronting somebody, is not, I don't want to say not appealing, because I don't think it's appealing to anybody, but it's not something that you are used to doing. What if you have to let them go? What if it gets awkward? What if they don't take the feedback well? What about the legal side of things? These are all fears that I know bubble under the surface, and I completely understand these concerns. The reality is, however, having to sit someone down and let them know that what they're doing isn't quite right and give them the feedback that they have the opportunity to change doesn't need to be as scary as you're making it out to be. Many of us who are naturally empathetic, myself included, your heart sort of jumps out of your chest at the feelings that the other person might be having. But you can learn to structure these conversations in a really positive way so the person actually receives and is pleased to have received the feedback. And through the hiring process, you can also set the hiring process up so the person knows that, hey, if you do anything that I notice is not quite right, I'm going to let you know about it straight away so you can work on correcting it. So you're always, clear on how you're going and whether you're on track to performing the role in the best way you can. Now, even that, borrow that language. Imagine saying that to someone in the hiring process, when you're making them an offer and them going, yeah, that'd be amazing. Permission granted to let them know if they're doing something. And then it's a matter of just phrasing those conversations in a way that's encouraging. So here's also what I've learned over the years and what I've seen to be true with all my clients. When someone isn't working out, yes, sometimes they're not right for the role and it's been an incorrect hire, but often it's also insufficient communication, lack of clear expectations from the outset, lack of mini correcting conversations, and lack of open feedback. And then the problem gets bigger than what we feel like we know how to handle. And then in our minds, we think, this person's not working out, I need to let them go. Where actually we just need to sit down and have a frank conversation with them. And the best way to avoid that difficult conversation, that one that feels really big in our head, is to have lots of those small, regular ones along the way. And when you do it in a structured way, so you're giving feedback and you're having regular check-ins and you're talking about the positive and the things that can be improved, you will address most of the minor things that go wrong before they turn into a major, I need to let this person go issue. And couple that, thought process and intention and structured conversations with a really good hiring process where you're confident that you're hiring the person that you know you need because you're clear about who you actually need, then really the likelihood of you choosing the wrong person and having to let them go really, really diminishes right down. Okay, the last fear that I want to address, because I know it's a real one and I know you felt it. What if no one good applies? What if I post the ad and nobody good applies and I have to choose the best of a bad bunch? Because let's face it, I know that you've been there before. I've certainly been on the receiving end in my 15 years of hiring people for my own businesses where not enough people applied for the job and the quality wasn't high enough. And I thought to myself, oh no, do I need to choose one of these when actually I was hoping for so much more? And the answer is no. You don't need to hire somebody who isn't right for you. You don't need to choose the best of a bad bunch. When great people don't apply, or it doesn't feel like you're getting the right volume of applicants or the right type of applicants, it comes back to that job advertisement. It's either been written in a not enough specific way, or it hasn't been placed in the right spot to be in front of the right people. And what I see happening all the time is really general job advertisements being posted, and then you get flooded with applications of, 80% of them being completely irrelevant. And then you walk away thinking, oh my goodness, the recruitment process is more than I can handle from a time perspective. Or the flip side, you hardly get any responses at all. And you think, oh, is this as good as it gets? So writing a great advertisement that is specific, that talks about what's in it for them, not what you need, but what's in it for them, and talks to the right person and includes what I call some repelling statements to turn off the wrong people so they don't even bother applying. That's what's going to get you the right people feeling excited to share with you their details, to send in their CV, to answer your application questions. And it's going to stop those time wasters from wasting their time or yours. And the result of a really well-written job advertisement where you focus on creating something that speaks directly to the right people and it's specific about what it is in your role and what it is about this role that's different, from an admin role somewhere else, an operations role somewhere else, et cetera, et cetera. The result is you'll get applications from people who are genuinely excited to work for you and who meet your criteria. And it'll be easy for you to assess that through the application process. So the quality of the applications that you'll receive is always a reflection on the quality of your advertisement and the quality of your communication in that advertisement. So it's not personal. It's not about whether your business is good enough or, whether anybody wants to work with you personally. It's just about what you've written and how you've written it. Okay, so they are the 5 main fears that I see that keep people stuck from hiring. And let's just talk for a couple of minutes about how these fears come out and what they look like on a day-to-day basis, because I'm guessing that you're going to recognize some of these patterns and perhaps you'll realize, maybe there's some fear sitting there for me. So one of the things that I see is the simple delaying of actually writing the advertisement or writing the job description or just writing out the things that you potentially want the person to do. Or if you're managing to get that started, an endless editing and tweaking, endless researching on job boards, on chat GPT, whatever it is, trying to come up with the perfect, in inverted commas, job advertisement or job description. Maybe you've written your draft and then you'll second guess it, or maybe you're sending it to mates and you're getting everybody's feedback. And 3 months later, somehow you haven't actually hired the person. Anywhere that you can see that the stepping your hiring process forward, taking a step forward towards writing a great advertisement, placing it up in an appropriate place and starting to have conversations with people. If you're delaying that, if you're pushing those things to the bottom of your to-do list, then there's probably a fear sitting there that is leading to this procrastination or deprioritization. And look, I know from the conversations that I have, every single day that there's a genuine intention to get around to it, but something else always comes up, right? Whether it's client delivery, whether it's, a family commitment, whether it's an existing team member needing you for something, or whether it's just you deprioritizing it and reprioritizing a different sort of project and thinking, I'll get to it later, I'll get to it next week. Or maybe you're even spending time researching an AI tool to see if there's an automation or an opportunity to not hire this person. That's also another fear-based procrastination technique that I'm seeing lately with the evolution of, is there literally hundreds of AI tools now out there? Wondering, maybe I shouldn't hire this person in case there's some technology that I could jump on here. And then one of the other fear-based actions that I see people taking is looking around in an existing network for somebody who may be able to do the job rather than just posting the advertisement. Maybe there's a mum at school who's looking for a job and you think, maybe she could do it. Maybe it's a friend of a friend, or you're talking to business buddies to see who they've got doing it in their business or where they found those people, or if those people have got any friends that they could introduce you to. And I guess the reason I'm sort of pointing out these different actions that I see is because it's fear fueling this. Like it's your fear that I don't know how to choose the right person. So maybe if the person's already known to me, then somehow it's going to make it easier or somehow they're going to be more right. But here's what I want you to know about all of this fear-based procrastination, delaying, deprioritizing, researching AI tool tactics that I see happening. While you're doing this delaying, all the costs of the delay are actually adding up. I'm sure you're missing business opportunities. I'm sure you're missing family opportunities. Maybe you're just missing some sleep that you could be doing with, or maybe just some space in your brain, in your diary, and your day. And whilst I completely understand why this is happening, I just want to encourage you to take some action and to get some support to move through the process if that's what you need to do to have the confidence to execute and the confidence to make a great decision. I know hiring somebody, particularly if it's a new role in your business, can feel like a really, really big decision, especially when you're already stretched thin. And it might feel like it's easy to just keep pushing through, but it's not. It's not sustainable. And I really want to encourage you to reach out and get support. Maybe that's from me. I'd love it to be me, but maybe it's from somebody else to get the support that you need to move through to the other side and to break through these fears that are keeping you stuck. Because what I know to be true after helping business owners for literally 20 years is that the cost of not taking action is always greater than the cost of taking action. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Every single one of these fears that I've talked about today is completely normal, completely understandable, and I get it. I've never met a single business owner who doesn't feel a little bit of nerves and trepidation when they're considering growing their team, hiring a new role, or even replacing somebody who's been troublesome. It's been a role that's been troublesome for them in their business. But what I want you to know is that these fears are costing you more than actually what taking action ever could. They're keeping you stuck in a business that's probably requiring you to work too long, too hard, and it's preventing you from enjoying, the freedom and flexibility, which were the reasons that you started your business in the first place. And the black and white reality is that you don't have to figure this out on your own. As I've said, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've got a methodology called the Hiring Mastery Method, which specifically addresses all these fears by putting a framework in place. One of my clients described it as the scaffolding that stopped her from making an emotional decision. And I've walked hundreds of business owners through this exact process. And I've watched them transform from being completely overwhelmed and stuck and scared to just going, oh, this is great, isn't it? And I want you to know that you can feel like that too. Learn a structured process, tap into a methodology and a framework that will remove the guesswork. Get the clear step-by-step actions that you need to find the right people. That includes assessing them effectively and setting them up for success. So within the Hiring Mastery methodology, I talk about the 3 C's to hiring success: clarity of who you're looking for, confidence that in an interview you're choosing the right person, so interview technique, and commitment, a structured way to onboard and train them so they get up to speed fast and they're adding to your bottom line as soon as possible and giving you the space that you need. So if you want to have a chat to me about that, book in to a Dream Team Discovery call. That's a completely no obligation conversation where we'll look at your specific situation, we'll work out who you need to hire, we'll identify what's holding you back, and I'll chat you through the various options to learn the hiring mastery method. That it's either me holding your hand and walking you through it, or there are actually DIY learning ways as well. Because here's what I know to be true: your business dreams and your family and your personal life and all that beautiful balance, you deserve it. And it's too important for you to stay stuck in this fear of not hiring the right person. So the link to book in your Dream Team Discovery call is in the show notes, or jump over to paulamaidens.com and you will find it there. And I really want to encourage you not to let another month go by thinking, I'll just do it myself and I'll hire this person later. Make a plan, get ready, get the scaffolding that you need to move through this in a confident way. And soon you'll have another person supporting you, and they'll be bringing their energy to the table. They'll be bringing their ideas and experience, and you'll just be so grateful for it. Okay, that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, please make sure you subscribe, follow, leave a 5-star review, and share this with somebody else who needs to hear it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Big Dreams, Great Teams podcast.